Hello and welcome. What do you do if you are a mom who's lost custody to your narcissistic ex? Hi, welcome to my work. I'm author, coach, strategist, narcissistic abuse survivor, family court custody battle survivor, post separation abuse survivor, Grace Rolson. I'm here to empower, encourage, and help the safe, loving parent. If you're a dad watching this and you are the safe, loving parent, take, what's helpful. I like to do a quick disclaimer. This is going to be more of a workshop than a quick video. So get a notepad out because writing things down, taking notes is so helpful to get it inside for you to digest my story of surviving and getting my child back, my rights back, and having a loving, bonded relationship maintained with my only child. So welcome to my work. I am here to support you. My background is loving and leaving an alcoholic. Learn all you can because knowledge is power. My first book is Co-Parenting with a Narcissist, 7 Self-Rules to Stay Sane. If you're in a situation such as that, you'll need to maintain your sanity in the midst of all the insanity of the narcissist. If you're in a family court battle, my second book, How to Fight a Narcissist in Family Court and Win, my super smart strategies for success, is not just a survivor story, but all my tips, tools, and strategies that I used. And the quick disclaimer is this isn't direct advice. I'm a survivor. I'm not a court professional. I'm not a therapist. Take what's helpful, leave the rest. We made it through out the other side, and it was a blend of many different pieces of advice. I could only take what would work in my situation. Come to my free blog on my website, gracewolson.com. It's GRACEWROLDSON.com, and read all of my things about skillful means and how I co-parent with a narcissist cooperatively and have peace and stability for my child. I say read my books in order written from 1 to 6 because my 7th is coming out. We did survive the narcissist. My 6th one is Wisdom for Ending the Co-Parenting War in the Custody Battle. My 5th is Tame the Narcissist, and it has everything that I learned along the way. It was all very helpful. If you're in the How to Survive a Custody Battle with a Narcissist, that's my 3rd book. And, family courts are requiring us to co-parent with an abusive ex. They don't have a system really in place to stop that from being ordered. But learn all you can from my work. I do have a video of strategies that you'll need because you'll need several strategies to overcome and deal with this: a documentation strategy, support strategy, legal strategy, defense, offense strategy, parenting strategy, and a communication strategy. Find that video or my Know the Narcissist video, which is very helpful. If you don't know the narcissist, you only know that he is a narcissist or suspect. Know the Narcissist might help you as the co-parent of a narcissist. So here we are. What to do if you are a mom, protective, loving mom, who's lost custody. I know this video has been a long time coming. You've wanted this. Stay to the end or save it to finish them and get through at least 3 of the tips. So when I heard the term horrible outcome case, I learned it in a consult with a DV expert, and I knew that someone had figured things out. I was living through a 12-year family court battle. Putting a name to what I have lived through helped me feel less confused and alone in my personal tragedy. It was a tragedy. I couldn't bear the thought of losing my child and my rights as a parent. It all felt so much worse, losing the ability to protect my child from a known abusive, toxic ex. But I was able to transform my situation and get a better outcome and regain what I lost. Family courts and judges can and often do get things very wrong. Not only do our children suffer when placed with a personality disordered ex, such as a narcissist, but we suffer too. As empaths, we can feel our child's pain, and the pain can feel like too much to bear or carry after suffering a loss of our parenting rights or visitation time. But I learned that mothers who get strategic rather than be defeated often can rebuild their custody cases. Relationships with children can repair, and healing can happen for all involved who hold on to hope and have patience. I'm not here to judge any mom who is lost, and please don't judge yourself. We are doing the best we can in the moment we have with all that we are up against and limited resources. Here are 3 things that I had to affirm for myself to keep me grounded. 1, I was still her mother. I didn't lose my identity as our child's only biological mother, even though he tried to replace me with a different mother. 2, I lost a legal battle being out-lawyered. I didn't lose our child to tragedy, sickness, illness, or death. I lost a legal moment in time. And 3, I loved my child, and I always would. If we have lost custody, whether physical or legal, it can feel beyond painful and extremely humiliating. Well, I can't tell you what to do if you've lost custody. I can tell you my top things that I did to restore power. There's like 20 here. I revived myself, I healed, I staged a comeback for my child, and rebuilt my self-esteem. It took some time, and this is more of a workshop than a one-off video. So the entire court battle and co-parenting struggles, if you know anything, it's about power. I was losing serious personal power in a legal battle, being outmatched and outmaneuvered, energy that I wanted to be giving our child. I realized just how much my energetic emotional support mattered to our child's survival when she announced that she didn't like the court's decision and was going to run away. I think she was 7 or 8. In order for her to hold on to hope, I had to be holding on to hope too. This meant doing self-work. Self-work is some of the most important work we will ever do. So this meant fixing my defeated mindset and negative attitude towards the courts and the GAL and everything, and creating strategies made with the experts that I most resonated with. I let her know that I was working on a plan and held my resolve without giving her the details of it all because of her age. I talked in story form about when I became a teenager and then an adult, and I assured her that she was growing and she was getting close to her own rights that no court or father could take away. I let her know how blessed we were to live in the U.S. at this time when women had equal rights and options. They could get an education. I painted a small glimpse of a future that she could live into her own freedom and rights, even though I had temporarily lost mine this round. What did I do after I lost legal rights in 2020 to the narcissist, lies, tactics, and high-powered, greedy, unethical lawyer? Well, that's what I'm going to get into here. So 1 is I chose to live, endure, be resilient, and survive it. This was a conscious choice. This was a choice I made even though I felt like a failure as a mom and that being a mom was my mission and calling in life. 2, I worked a healing program of recovery, and I found these free 12-step groups by phone and Zoom, virtual, extremely helpful in maintaining my sanity in the midst of the narcissist's insanity and the society's enabling of him. I had to face the family court failures and CPS failures that shocked and appalled me. it appalled everyone because the narcissist wasn't even doing the parenting, but then he went for sole legal rights and sole custody. So my suggestion is to find a recovery program like Al-Anon, CODA, ACA, ACOA, and do the work. Do 6 meetings of each before you decide if it's right for you. That is a suggestion. But do find your healing spaces, your program, and work them. Make healing a priority. I learned to not take the failures, mine included, personally. Good, loving, caring moms everywhere, like around the world, were losing their children to abusers and narcissists. I realized this was a pattern and a global phenomenon in a fight for power and control. I was finding narcissists everywhere once I discovered what a narcissist was. I was seeing them in every area of society, and they tended to do the same kinds of tricks, tactics, and manipulations. They often set the same traps for innocent victims like me who didn't know and were very naive. I was just an unsuspecting, vulnerable empath. So I realized it was all a pattern that plays out, and it was not personal. Systems like family court and CPS were not able to detect the liars or deal with these tricksters yet. This empowered them in a way and left me without recourse in many ways. And knowledge of this became my power. So, it's all about image if we were getting judged. So his image was better than mine. At the time, I worked on that. I read other mothers' stories of loss. I found out that I wasn't alone, and there was more tragic stories than mine. Many of these true stories were horror stories. Children and moms did not make it out alive. This helped me to keep perspective. My research was eye-opening, sometimes comforting, and often validating and affirming. So do put things into perspective. I had so many people or mentors remind me no child gets a perfect childhood. And when they are adults, they can and have the opportunity to heal and find safety. I lessened the pain using a blessings list. In order to focus on the good, I kept repeating all that I had given her in the 7 years of early intervention, schooling, medical care, and more, where the narcissist wasn't involved at all. Even though when he won, he stripped her of all these things, she got to experience them. He couldn't take away the things that I gave her. So think about that. If you had the child early on, infant years, toddler years, what couldn't the narcissist take away? And then I grieved my losses, and grief is a personal thing. I learned that I had to face my pain and grieve. This went on for years as I humbled myself and faced the humiliation that I had to deal with, my pride. I'd been working in my child's school as a substitute paraprofessional, and he purposely moved her school when he won, when he was granted sole custody by the judge. And I had to stabilize myself emotionally because I couldn't think strategically when I was drowning in grief. I found support from those who knew what I was up against, but I learned not to grieve too heavily or openly in front of my child because it was too much for her to process. I was sure not to chronically complain or overvent or vent to her and overshare. I had to show up as a healed, whole, healthy, recovered mom to be the best mom that I could be. I followed the unfair court order. Even though it wasn't fair, I knew that my actions would be judged by a judge or another GAL or another court professional or mediator. And I knew a judge would be looking for cooperation and my ability to follow orders. So there, I set that with myself. I set it with myself as a way to start my comeback. I showed up consistently and offered to do any extra for the narcissist. And that was in a helpful vibe. I did every visit, parent-child phone call, and school event. I offered to help my ex wherever he needed since he had never done any of the responsibilities of a parent before and just did his visits until he figured out how to interfere with the pediatricians, which is ultimately how he was able to gain a foothold in family court. So be careful of that. That was tough. I didn't badmouth him to our child, but I privately studied narcissism. I decided to learn about narcissists. Go check out that Know the Narcissist video, which helped me get where they were coming from, their motives, what drove them, the power struggle, what narcissistic supply was, and more. I even have what drives a narcissist in a family court battle video. So find that on my channel. All of my videos on my channel are free, and all of it's in my books. I started to strategize and use experts. I learned the family court system a bit too. I began paying for strategy sessions and legal consultations from experts to see if I could appeal or what was the best course of action and what would reinstate my rights. I got outside opinions and gained wisdom and insight. I would sit back for a week digesting a new take on my predicament. This helped me formulate a new strategy that fit my conditions. I created a safe and stable life with me, and I included the fun too. That's important. I offered our child the opposite of his control and abuse. I offered her a safe place to stay and be well. I made our home warm, clean, inviting, and our time fun. I learned to tell our child what we would do next time when we saw each other so that she could look forward to it. And I can't tell you how much power there is in looking forward to something. It builds hope. Think, what can you offer your child to look forward to? What can you look forward to? Then I created positive memories and focused on our child. I didn't interrogate her about her time with her dad. I made up fun things that we could do to help with stress and transitions, like going to the playground right after I got her back. She needed to move her body and be set free. So think about that. What are you doing at the transition time? I set small mother-related parenting goals for myself. I decided to set small goals like get through the week. Then I would get through the month. And after that, I would get through a season. And it turned into setting goals that I would see her become a teen or graduate middle school. And my personal and private goals expanded to seeing her get her license or head off to college. And these were goals as a parent that helped me hold on through life's many changes and chapters. I used a calendar on my wall to cross off days I survived and weeks I endured. Then I would see whole seasons pass and affirm that I was still standing, still here, and still loving my child. I took voluntary parenting classes. This was strategic. Even though I wasn't the abusive parent, I was a first-time parent. This was my only child. So I took advantage of all the free parenting classes at our local family resource center. I gained many helpful parenting tips and started building myself up as a mom, an educated mom. I became willing to change and let go. I learned that I couldn't control the court and protect my child due to the parenting rights and laws that were in place. I realized that I had to change, mostly eliminate my expectations, and let go of outcomes I wanted and wished for. This letting go of what I desired eased some of my suffering and stress. I was then able to open my hands for whatever good that could come out of the mess we were in. I examined all the reasons I lost. This really helped me see that it wasn't all my fault. It was my society, culture, enablers, my childhood, my lawyer's inabilities, family court issues, and more. Listing all the reasons helped me to stop blaming myself. And these insights freed me up. No loving, caring, conscious mother wants to hand her child to an abusive ex for unsupervised time. And no mother expects to leave an abusive marriage or relationship with an active alcoholic and not be able to protect or care for her young. I offered myself bits of forgiveness. I had no idea that the family court was so incompetent. I also had no idea my ex was a narcissist at the time. I couldn't have known how bad things would get for me or my child. I was naive and ignorant of all that we would face on the family court front or with her dad's parenting. I had to see my innocence in all that happened to us and start forgiving myself like 1% at a time. I asked for help and found the professionals. I built a support team to keep me standing. I realized that what I tried to do on my own didn't work and started finding people who could help me. Many supported me just emotionally, which was huge. I also needed DV help, sponsors in my programs, and legal help to endure. I kept things in writing and avoided emotional reactions with the narcissist. I made sure my communication was in writing with the narcissist and wrote as if the judge were reading it. I kept it simple, polite, and on topic. I didn't feed the narcissist my pain, fear, upset, and angst. Instead, I became logical and bland and somewhat stoic. Abusive exes, such as narcissists, often try to provoke reactions that can be used against us in court later. Things can be twisted, flipped, and he was always looking to find proof that I was as crazy as he claimed, even though it's a crazy-making tactic of a narcissist. If you don't know all of the tactics of a narcissist, find my co-parenting abuse list, start naming them and documenting strategically. I wrote my truth and the truth. First, I journaled all my pain, and then I decided to blog. Writing anonymously in a pen name was healing and helped me release all the unfairness and the injustice I was facing, and that became my sixth, now seventh, look for my seventh book for moms, with all the wisdom. So I didn't just share my mess, I went for giving you the message. I started helping other moms. At first, I did free support calls to any mom going through a similar struggle that found me online, needed to talk. I was a witness to their pain and did some heart and hand holding. This helped me help somebody when I couldn't help my child. I reorganized and I shifted my angle. Now, what do I mean by angle? That's important. Instead of focusing what I didn't want, I focused on what I did want. Find my 20 wants list. That is a power tool. It's now called 20 plus wants list because the many moms that I've worked with, we can come up with more than 20 wants. At first, I could only think of 3 when I did mine, and I found that I needed help making that list. So I wanted a loving, healthy, happy relationship with a child who could thrive and overcome challenges. I found that organization was key, and I began organizing what I did want to the front of my mind instead of focusing on what I was afraid of happening. To the front of my mind. That is key. What I want to the front of my mind instead of what was actually happening. This was an energetic exercise in the energetics of things. I started preparing and documenting strategically to build leverage. I prepared for the next chapter of life, knowing there would be more chapters to live because I chose to live. I prepared for another possible day in court or a material change of circumstances to happen. Then I found new things to do and new work, and I redirected my attention to not be consumed by the loss. I decided that I wanted to help others, and I found new hobbies, activities, and work to immerse myself with. I became useful somewhere as I rebuilt my sense of self-worth that I felt was stripped from me as a mom. So becoming useful is key to anyone in society anywhere. It even can be animals or the environment. Find those three things that I talk about is like children, elderly, the environment, and animals. Three things that need our help, not another narcissistic man to get into a relationship with. Then I leaned into and sought out spirituality. I sought inspiration by finding a loving, open-minded spiritual church. I was able to connect with the elders who had lived life and seen its ups and downs. I was also able to find and create a connection with a loving higher power. That was key. Do you have a loving higher power? This helped me see that my love was bigger than the narcissist, and there was something more powerful and above the narcissist and the judge. I sought out inspiring quotes and authors and lecturers on resilience to keep me uplifted and to keep me going. Go read the poem, The Journey by Mary Oliver. If you want to write that down, The Journey by Mary Oliver. I installed a workout exercise plan. I created a daily exercise routine that started off with power walking and helped me strengthen my body and stabilize my mood. I increased it slowly and steadily to create physical strength. So I knew I would need both physical and mental strength for any more rounds that could come. I retreated into nature. And this was key. I went on a retreat or 2 or 3. I had to step away from my life in my town by going away for week-long spiritual retreats or silent retreats or led retreats where I refilled my tanks and got out of the control dramas with my ex. Stepping away helped me to not feel defined by my loss in family court. I kept my reputation strong and worked to improve my image. I also relaxed a bit. The narcissist painted me as a crazy, micromanaging, overly worried mom that was abusing our child medically, even though she wasn't on any medications for her conditions. I learned to sit back, relax a bit, to change my demeanor so that he sounded crazy, calling me crazy. I purposely stayed away from adding another relationship during this time with a man into the mix of drama, social media fights, or anything else that could be used against me. I watched and waited for a change in circumstances. I practiced patience. It's like extreme patience. Many of the lawyers I consulted with said that I had needed a change of circumstances, a material change, like a big, for something different to be ordered. I began doing what I called my due diligence yearly by monitoring for possible DUIs, OUIs, and any changes that could impact our child or my case. I looked out for things like child abuse, neglect, instability, arrests, or child distress that could support future court action, and documented them in a Google Sheets, labeled by tab. That way I could stay organized. Remember, organization is key, and documenting strategically is a guide, an individual guide, You can also find it in one of my books. Then I decided to stay in it for the long haul. I had to stop being so short-sighted, stressed, and stuck in urgency and crisis mode. My hands were being tied behind my back. I'd already called CPS and the cops and called doctors and everybody. Help, help, help my child. And that was all short-term stuff. I learned that many moms often regain child custody years later because they stayed calm, documented, and built a strong case for later. So if this is you and you need to think long-term, shifting from short-term to long-term is a shift. It's a change. I stopped making an enemy of the narcissist. Now, this was very key. I started using skillful means, and I learned to use skillful means to not be the narcissist enemy in his mind, his enemy. I examined my stance and my positioning as a pusher, policer, controller, confronter, and manager towards him. I stopped all that energetically. And there's some things that I didn't do. So what didn't I do? I didn't start more drama with the narcissist. I didn't self-destruct or self-sabotage. I didn't self-harm. I didn't move on quickly or jump into a new relationship with another narcissist or even another empath or codependent. I didn't start a new family to complicate things. I wanted to clean up my karma. I didn't walk away or run away. I had to find a way to be brave and bold and courageous, and we do get courage through connection. I didn't escape into using substances to cope. Not judging you if you needed them for a short period of time. I needed a few things to help me sleep that were non-addictive, to be able to sleep at night. I didn't internalize my pain and isolate. I mean, I spent a little time alone, but I made sure to be with others. I didn't ignore the court order because I didn't like it. I didn't stay with the same lawyer that I lost with. That was hard. I had to let go of my loyalty to my lawyer and switch to a different lawyer with a different strategy, as you'll read in my books. I didn't keep my same losing strategy of trying to expose the narcissist. I didn't grieve heavily in front of my child or chronically blame and complain about the court order. I didn't allow myself to remain stuck in despair. What I learned was what I give my attention to gets my energy. What we give our attention to gets our energy. So I decided to give it to myself, my child, my life, and my case. I stopped any and all interpersonal battles with my ex. I created, have a castle and curtain method that helped me neutralize things. Call it gray walling. You can look for that. I started disarming him and myself. I stopped escalating issues and de-escalated them instead. I stopped reacting and focused on responding to only facts. I started giving less of myself, my energy, my time, attention to the narcissist until there was nothing for him to take from me. My internal boundaries had grown and my resolve to remain calm and survive this storm had strengthened. What I realized was my rebirth and comeback came in stages. It was very much a heroine's journey to find a higher power to hold on to when I had lost so much of mine in the fight and to the losses. There were phases that I had to complete that included a revolution, an involution, some isolation and separation, where I gained insights and a higher perspective, an acceptance of reality, a new vision, and then transformation. So there were those stages. During this time, I was diagnosed with an adjustment disorder and got some in-home therapy. Adjusting to the losses of my new reality was very hard. It was all so hard to accept that such a horrible outcome was possible. But to get the many health benefits of acceptance, including inner peace, I had to accept reality. But that didn't mean I had to like it. Without this level of inner peace and power greater than the narcissist, I realized that I was permanently defeated, not just by the narcissist, but my own emotional state if I let it go on. I learned that everything holds energy, and my emotions were energy and motion. I discovered that by being so emotional about it all, I was losing energy. The very energy I needed to stage a comeback, fight, and strategize around the narcissist, narcissism, the family court's limitations, and CPS's incompetence and inadequacies in protecting children from abuse and neglect. I needed to use my anger constructively to build a better future for my child and myself instead of letting it destroy me. I became aware of what was happening in me and made new missions. These missions went in phases. There was phases to my recovery, as there will be phases to yours. So first, I survived the unfairness and injustice, seeking a healing path and heal as much as I could, even if I could only heal 5%. I had to adapt, endure, and be resilient, grieve my losses, relax somewhere from the battle. And I think I spent 2 years educating myself and relaxing, getting a new focus, reinvent myself, find mentors and others, connect with a higher power, strengthen physically and mentally, regroup and re-strategize from a new angle, and remember my reasons. And I had to come back changed. It's important to note that I changed as the circumstances changed. I had to drop my expectations of what being a mom would look like. I had to check my motives for all my actions and make sure they were good, healthy, and pure, kind even. I had to make sure I wasn't operating out of solely fear. I had to believe that love was more powerful and enduring. I had to firmly and securely know my love for our child was bigger than the narcissist. I even learned to beam my love to her in prayer and thought when she was with her dad on his time. I had to stop caring about what others and the narcissist thought of me and get my validation from my own truth and a loving higher power. The narcissist wasn't in charge of my thoughts, only me. I had to let go of all the social shame that came with losing legal custody to my ex. None of what others thought of me mattered, not even my own self-condemnation from my own ego. What mattered was what a higher power thought of me. It was more of an empowering thought to think that, and one I had to choose. I learned to consciously choose my thoughts while I let go of pain, fear, grief, and upset. This empowered me. With a healthier, sturdier, more in reality mindset, I was able to stop being the narcissist's target of blame and turned that TOB using a strategy that I now teach moms, which also goes in phases. There was a time that I had to use family court to create protections. Then there was a time to not use family court to stay in my child's life. It was all a very delicate dance of power because it was the narcissist, narcissism, fear, and triggers that I had to tiptoe around. I learned ways to bond with my child and hold her pain as she poured out her upset to me after spending more time with her dysfunctional, toxic dad. Holding space was hard, as I learned that I was the safe parent and her emotions would come out onto me. Sometimes I thought I was doing something wrong, but I learned that I was being her holy witness to her trauma. I learned that just being loving and caring without trying to fix, save, and rescue and solve was one of the best things I could do for her so she could learn her own effective coping and survival strategies for use with her father and his family. This allowed her to think for herself. One of the things her therapist said that she is allowed to do, and which allowed her to love me in spite of her dad's critical, derogatory remarks of me to her. Yes, he did break the court order and disparage me in some very clever, covert, underhanded ways. Preserving the bond and our love, my love for my child's love for me, became my top priority. This mattered more than anything at certain points in our story. In the end, I got all my legal rights restored and the majority of the parenting time back. Then I got all the responsibilities back, along with the increase of child support. I gained cooperation from a narcissist using skillful means, and our child was moved back to her original school where I worked. Her same therapist was reinstated after like a 1-year hiatus, and her cell phone was returned to her that he took away. She was allowed back all her activities. Yes, he did cancel all her activities. And she was allowed to add new extracurricular activities, which was on his time, took up his time. The co-parenting abuse on our family wizard stopped completely. The narcissist and I, quote unquote, graduated 7 long months of co-parenting therapy that was court-ordered. Our child was returned to live with his parents 1 town over from me, and more. The peace we got came from my journey inwards and being open to a new way of surviving. This led to our child thriving and winning individual awards in school and dance. She began excelling and making new friends and reconnecting with old friends at her school. I was able to support her more when I stopped battling her father. I started focusing on the best interest factors for our child and not my ex or my custody case. That was key. Focusing on the best interest factors for our child and not the ex or the custody case. Energy went to her, my energy. This helped me align with the judge's thinking, which I hadn't aligned with, which was the reality that I lived in. What we ended up with was a healthy, happy, well-adjusted child who was thriving and a valuable contributing part of her community. And I write this and I read this and I speak this for all the moms and the children who have suffered a terrible loss. I feel you. My heart breaks for you. But I hope this helped. The journey that you're taking as a mother is a tough one. It's hard. It's difficult. It's challenging. It's painful. It's a story of your child's one and only child life, but your child's one and only childhood, but it's not over. When things had fallen apart, I had to tell myself this is not the end of the story. We are the author of our own new life story, and we can go forward and write something new. Now, after coaching other moms for over a decade and connecting with other survivors, I've seen reuniting and reconciliation of the most beautiful sort between mothers and their children. I have seen apology letters move adult children to tears as they become parents and find out just how hard this job is. I have seen moms come back, changed from their suffering and awakenings, and return to their child's life to make lifelong amends. I have seen children reject the narcissist entirely on their own with the validation of their truth and experience. I have seen them create their own strategies to leave the destructive influence and control of a narcissistic father. I have seen children survive a narcissist and all horrible forms of abuse and go on to have healthy, loving marriages and their own families where they protect their children from what they went through. I have seen courageous moms who have lost children change laws, become lawyers themselves, and stop corruption in family court. I've even seen them out particular judges. All of us survivors have found ways to help the next mom. We do this work because we know it helps the children under each mom who has lost a custody battle or a family court war. Bottom line, I had to tell myself we never stop being a parent because we don't. And there's a nice quote there, "I'm not afraid of the storms," from Learning How to Sail My Ship by Louisa Alcott. Some self-reflection questions that might help you to think of how to put some of these ideas into your life. Where can you rebuild your life? What corner, what area? What are your reasons and motives? Are they child-based? Where do you need to go to restore? Where can you seek sanctuary? Where can you get help and healing? What program of recovery can you work for yourself to gain tools and insights? Al-Anon, CODA, ACOA, all three of them, different ones. Have you allowed yourself to grieve, and who can help you with this? Sometimes you can find, I found a female pastor, Episcopal minister, and other people to give a confession to. Are you able to forgive the innocent part of you who didn't know any better back then? What are other perspectives that you can take on your situation that's more empowering? And what's the most healthy, helpful, and healing thought you can have? And that one is the one I hang on to, because my negative thoughts will take me down by my ankles, my ego, fear, pride, shame. All ego will grab me and hold on to me and get me into the pit of self-pity. And I always say, watch out for getting near that pit. Once you fall in, it's very hard to get out. People have to throw ladders down. So watch out for self-pity. Bring the light of compassion in and use this. What's the most healthy, helpful, healing thought you can have? Pause, write that down. I'm going to share with you some more things, because you can learn, heal, grow through this. You can outgrow the narcissist. You can keep being a great mom. Remember to like and subscribe. Find my podcast on Spotify. If you are continuing to have to co-parent with a narcissist or in a custody battle, there's other episodes there. There's a free Navigate Around the Narcissist and Narcissism newsletter on Substack. I have a Get the Right Lawyer guide, because getting legal representation can be empowering. Quite often our custody case is only as good as our attorney. Find that guide with my 20-question what to ask other lawyers, so that you go in strategic, ready, armed with knowledge of what you want to gain from each lawyer. You want their perspective, the strategy they would take. You learn my skillful means. Learn it all before you implement it. See if it's right for you. I have the tools here, and that's in my book. I have a Documenting the Narcissist Strategically. That's a guide in one of my books. I have a video, Position Yourself for Successful Negotiations, because I did successfully stand up to the narcissist in court. Then I successfully negotiated, got everything I wanted from the narcissist himself. And I avoided being the target of blame. This is another video. You don't want to be an opponent to someone so destructive. And I teach the skillful means so that you can get strategic, which reduces stress. So please look for all of my other videos. Welcome to my work. Keep learning, healing, and growing. I hope this was helpful to some mom who needed the encouragement to keep going and to hang in there for their little ones or their adult children. Thank you so much for watching and listening.